Coming up next on Headline Humboldt, Eureka City Councilwoman Kim Bergel joins us tonight to talk about the race for 4th District Humboldt County Supervisor. And she makes her case to you, the voters. Also, the Associated Press this week brought national attention to the issue of missing or murdered Native American women and girls, just as the Yurok tribe declares the situation an emergency. Coming up now on Headline Humboldt. Live from the top of Humboldt Hill, this is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Falk. Thanks for joining us. As we all settle in for this newest episode of our show, just before or just after a peaceful and routine dinner with our families, we should be doubly grateful this week that we can do so without dodging missiles from the sky or evading the tank squadron that's just now toppling Town Square. If you've somehow managed to miss the bewildering news this week, Russia has invaded Ukraine and people there are dying right now as I deliver and you receive the news. This isn't some dry and abstract recollection from history, and it isn't taking place in some exotic foreign backwater that we can cavalierly ignore. Our proven lack of empathy for people in countries outside of the Western and often white world is hugely problematic and worthy of reflection. But the point right now is that we are all rightfully horrified that such atrocities can and do still occur. Ukraine is a modern, if somewhat flawed, democratic nation that is the victim of a sickeningly bold power move by one of the world's autocratic despots, Vladimir Putin. The besieged government there asked its citizens today to fight their invaders with whatever weapons they could collect, including homemade Molotov cocktails, in order to preserve the country's system of self-rule and democracy. Such is the value they place on autonomy. This is a war of choice, where one country has simply decided that it has the right to dictate the future of another by virtue of power and naked aggression. I am not advocating for American intervention, nor any other policy position. The matter is extraordinarily complicated, dangerous, and way, way, way above my pay grade. But as we begin another television show, this one at least partly centered on the upcoming race for 4th District Humboldt County Supervisor, I think it's important that we remember the value of this choice and honor the determination and sacrifice it has and will require for us to keep it. Democracy should never be taken for granted. And for all the sloppy conflict and seeming stagnation that comes from making sure everyone has a voice, it's important, especially in times like these, to ask, what's the alternative? Our system is not perfect, but it sure beats an autocracy installed by rifles, bombs, and strongmen obsessed with the size of their measly nation states. Joining us for the interview tonight is City Councilwoman Kim Bergel, who recently declared her candidacy for 4th District Supervisor. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, James. I'm glad to be here.
So I guess the obvious question, you're going to run for 4th District. You are running. Why do you want the office?
Well, you know, I've really enjoyed being on council, and I feel like we've accomplished a lot. And I really appreciate the team that I've worked with. But there are certain areas that we struggle in still, and I feel like I'm at a pause point, and it's time to move forward and have more accessible and have more power to do the things that need to happen with the county. Yeah. And so things like mental health, those types of things, because at the city we really don't have a lot of control over those types of things, and yet those are the types of things that are really influencing our region daily. So. Yeah,
it seems like you're in a position where you're encountering a lot of the social issues, but you don't really have a lot of power or maneuverability to really do a lot besides, the attrition or whatever that comes with just dealing day in and day out with them.
Yeah, well, I do have to say that I have been on the KEET board, brought forward Uplift Eureka, and the Eureka has really worked on a lot of plans to work with the homeless population in these types of situations. But again, the mental health piece of it is something that we just can't accommodate. Yeah. At least not right now.
Now, so you mentioned CAPE. And Uplift Eureka. Describe for me what those programs are and what you think they do for Eureka.
Oh, they're fabulous. So the CAPE program is a program that works with local youth, so and also, disenfranchised populations. So, for instance, CAPE does things like reaches out to youth to get them involved in different camps, different programs that we have. They provide a Santa Claus at Christmas with lots of presents, which I always get to be an elf, and I just love that. And then with their programming for houselessness, it's really exciting. They have Uplift Eureka, where they work with individual people to try and meet them where they're at and figure out what their needs are. So whether that is housing, whether that's a job, getting their ID, feeling valued, huge kind of thing.
Give self-respect.
Yeah, and that partners with Betty Chin
Yeah,
as well. They do a
absolutely.
partnership for Pathway to Payday, which really supports a lot of people into getting good quality work.
Yeah. Now you guys have made, I mean, that partnership sort of a featured part of how you guys have reacted to homelessness. And what do you think that through the county's, power, I guess, or money, what would you like them to do more of that the city needs, that you'd like to maybe start if you became a supervisor?
Yeah, thank you. I think the biggest piece of this is collaboration. It's always going to be collaboration. And what I'd like to see more with the county is less siloing, because currently there's, funds for different things and they're just very narrow.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see more collaboration. There are programs in the county that they're continuing to work on, and I actually am excited to be in support of those and work with DHHS to find some more common solutions, as well as housing. All this is just, housing is health.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I did some perusing of your website, in preparation for tonight, and I saw that quality of life was one of the things that one of the reasons why you feel like you love Humboldt County and you want to represent it. Yeah. One of the battles about quality of life in Humboldt County for a long time has been, economic development versus like sort of the rural quality of life, the fact that we have trails and natural, sort of unspoiled natural environments and that sort of thing. How do you see that balance? I mean, do you think that the county is doing enough right now to attract sort of maybe big manufacturing businesses, or do you think that we should spend more time trying to foster like sort of the ecotourism, niche for our economy? How would you balance those?
Yeah, so I think that it's going to be important to look at both of those things. I think that fair practices for all businesses is going to be really important, and I say that specifically about cannabis.
Yeah.
Currently, cannabis is not a cash cow, and we need to treat them like every other business. They shouldn't have to pay a tax just to exist.
So you support the Measure S suspension?
I absolutely do. Yes. Yes.
Right on.
Yes.
One of the things that I was talking about with you before the show was that there's this sense on the board and also on the city council, it's not anything that you're a stranger to, but the left and right battle. It's a nonpartisan seat, but there is a sense that there are the candidate of the left, the candidate of the right. You kind of don't fit in to that dichotomy. How important is it to you to be at more of a central point rather than being on one side or the other? Is that something you cultivate?
Yes, I would say probably that would be true. I make decisions based on fair practices and talking to different people. I listen to both sides and try to come up with some kind of a solution that's going to mitigate it so that both people benefit. That doesn't always happen, but I do try and listen and move forward with things as they come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you think that the county needs to do more of in terms of mental health? We talked a little bit about that before, but is there anything in particular that you'd point to that you'd like to see the county maybe take more action on, or programs you'd like to see?
Yeah, so I'd like to see teenage or youth treatment. I think that's going to be a critical piece. We're talking about, our future when we're talking about our youth, and that certainly is something that we're lacking in, incredibly lacking in. Yeah. I love that the county is doing a pilot program with Laura's Law.
Can you explain what that is for the
So Laura's Law is it came about because there were 3 people with mental illness, 3 separate situations, I believe, where someone wasn't on their medication, they got violent, and they hurt people. Okay. Very tragically. Yeah. And so what Laura's Law does is the people have to apply, or they don't apply, but they go to court. And so they are under the judge's kind of purview. It doesn't force people to take medication, but they are worked with regularly with the judge, and then they'll have like a worker, that type of situation. And the reason that I say that, and I think this is really important, is that when we're working with these things, nothing is one size fits all. Yeah. And so it's really important to look at all different pieces of the puzzle and be willing to try them. Just be willing to try them, because we don't know which piece is going to make a difference in that guy's life or your son's life or your daughter's life. Yeah. We don't know what that's going to be, but if we can create lots of different opportunities for people, I think we can make big strides.
Where does your, I mean, I sense empathy from you on this subject. Where does that empathy come from? I mean, where do you think that, why are you so, concerned about issues and people like that?
So it's kind of funny, actually. So So I grew up in the Salvation Army Church, and I learned service early on. And I learned that people are valuable regardless of what they're wearing, what they're doing, all of those things, whether they're clean or not.
Yeah.
And I've just always, that's always been a part of me, from being in church, and my mom it was awful at the time, but she'd have us hug people and shake their hands, and it would be like, oh my God, like I'm 10, I don't really want to touch these people, but to see the lights come on in people's eyes just because they felt valued was a gift. And so I've carried that with me, and so it's important to me, and I think a healthy community lifts people up. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It doesn't need to put people down to make themselves feel better about themselves, and so I'm very I'm very passionate about this.
Your mention of putting people down to make yourself feel better, that is endemic, I think, to our society right now. And I've noticed, and you have been a particular target of some vitriolic online behavior. I think you even had a stalker at one point, and it got kind of ugly. It's especially targeted toward women, women who are either in media or who are in political positions. It seems like rather than just saying, I don't like this guy's policies or whatever, this woman is a, four-letter word or lots of other hateful kinds of rhetoric and language.
Yes.
Why do you think that occurs locally? What does it say about us? And is there anything that we can do to alleviate it, do you think?
Well, I would say that I think this is systemic everywhere, and I think part of the reason is because if I don't have to look you in the face and I can tell you whatever I want, then I'm gonna, I may have something else going on, but I'm gonna attack you because again, I don't want to deal that about myself.
No, for sure.
But certainly it can be very frustrating. As you know, I had an experience with somebody that was harassing me. He wasn't stalking me, like he didn't come to my house, but it was a harassment issue. And it was hell, frankly.
Because you're also constrained by the fact that you're a public person. You can't if someone harasses you on the street and you're not a public person, there's a whole lot of F-bombs and other words that you can drop to be like, get away from me. But if you're a public person, you're more constrained, right?
You are. And the thing about it is that I've heard people say, well, she needs to have a thick skin. And I do. But when someone is talking about my children or, a family member of mine, it's completely inappropriate and it needed to stop. And so that portion of that has stopped for the most part. And I'm very grateful for that, yes.
Do you feel like you were treated respectfully by the authorities in that process, or could that process be improved for other, regular folks?
I think that there could be some improvement. Like I didn't realize that I would need an attorney for a restraining order. There were things I didn't know. Because I did file for a restraining order because it got that bad for me. But I think too, with these situations, people don't take them necessarily seriously. The thing that the judge had said, well, there was no physical threat of harm. And there wasn't. But when somebody's texting you 40 times within a 5-hour period, that's a lot of times. So, I'm grateful that I'm through that, and I'm grateful I learned a lot through that process. And I'm good. Like I said, just don't talk about my kids.
Absolutely.
Or my family.
Mama bear.
If you want to talk about my issues about my performance at work, knock yourself out.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it like humans. Let's sit down and, I try and have coffee with people that don't agree with me, just because I feel like everybody has a valid opinion and a voice. And so I try and listen to what they have to say and meet where we agree and move forward in the relationship from there.
Now, despite those difficulties, you are trying to assume an even bigger job. Do you feel like, are you, I guess what I'm asking is, some people would be intimidated by that, but not you. You've decided to come out and even work even harder to serve the community. What does that say about you?
Well, it says that I'm dedicated and that I love our community and I want to have a better place for our community. I want to have a quality of life that my kids will want to stay here. My daughter's at college now away, and it's very hard. But yes, I am dedicated, and I just, I feel like there's so much opportunity in our county to do things better and to treat each other better and to lift people up and to move forward. I mean, I would want to live anywhere else, you know, and the community rises up. The community always rises up when we need to, you know, and I love that.
We have about 2 minutes left, and I wanted to ask you something about something that's one of the places that you've made your mark in public service. It was the Tolawat Island situation with the Wiyot tribe. You were sort of instrumental, I mean, you were instrumental in having the vast majority of that island finally returned to the tribe. Why did you think that was important, and do you see anywhere else in the future where that kind of collaboration could continue?
Absolutely. Well, so I had thought about the island since I was a little girl, and you know, you hear the stories, you as a child you don't really realize the magnitude of the stories, and then you grow up and you realize, oh my gosh. So I have always thought it was wrong, and I'm grateful that we could make it right. And I worked with the tribe, and I love working with them. They're just wonderful people, and I do hope that we can move forward with other projects because, you know, whatever that might look like. I'm excited about that. And I just, you know, it was the right thing to do. It's been the right thing to do, and I'm just, it was probably one of the most important things besides the birth of my kids in my life, to be able to make that amends. Excuse me, to be able to make that amends.
I was at the celebration at the Adorney Center. We did a piece on it at the time, and it was definitely a moving experience to be there and to see. You can't call it closure because there's no closure for something like that, but it was
It's
powerful.
the beginning. Excuse me, it's the beginning.
Maybe some healing finally
That's the goal,
there.
yeah.
Now we have about a minute left. One of the people that you worked with in that process is the person that you're running against now. How do you see that moving forward? Do you feel like there's going to be this is going to be a vitriolic campaign, or are you guys going to be good sports? I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't see myself behaving vitriolically. That's not who I am as a person. And we did both work on the project, and I appreciate all the help that she gave and her input and all of those pieces. You know, I was the one that was in the attorney's office, you know, twice a week. What's going on? When are we going to get this moving forward? Excuse me, you know, those types of things. Because, you know, I felt like it needed to be done like 5 years ago, not like, you know, 3 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. Move the process along.
Let's move it along. Let's get it done.
That's all the time we have for tonight, Kim. So I appreciate you coming down.
I appreciate you having me.
This always goes by faster than you think it's going to. It's 15 minutes and boom, it's done. But thank you. We'll have you on again soon.
Yes, awesome.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
We'll be right back after this short break.
In America, horses helped forge a new world. And that new world created unique horses. Shaped by land and work, but sustained by their connection to us. Each breed has its own story and legacy. These are American horses.
Endeavour has captivated Masterpiece Mystery fans for over 10 years. Detectives Morse and Thursday are an unlikely pair, but we love watching them solve crimes. Please join us for a behind-the-scenes look back as we hear from the cast and creators as they share what makes this program so full of mystery, intrigue, and nail-biting suspense in Endeavour: The Evolution.
Humboldt County announced this week that the number of confirmed COVID cases in the county has reached 19,492. As case counts declined, the county also announced that the Joint Information Center will now only update its publicly released information 3 days a week instead of 5. As the county transitions from a pandemic response into what it calls an endemic response, it will further reduce that number of days down to 1 per week. Vaccinations are still making a significant difference. For the period from May 30th, 2021 to February 13th, 2022, 18 deaths of fully vaccinated Humboldt County residents from COVID-19 were reported. The average age of those deaths was 79. During that same period, 57 deaths of unvaccinated residents were reported. The average age of those deaths was 67. A new national report from the Associated Press has highlighted an issue we've reported on here before, that of murdered or missing Native American women and girls. The Yurok tribe has recently been forced to declare a state of emergency over these disappearances.
We had reports that a school bus drove by, saw her on the bridge naked.
She went missing in early October. Every day, the frustration of wanting some, movement to having things getting done, it's very difficult.
Now, this is Emily. There's a lot of Emily around here right now.
It's an eagle feathers. This is all like beaded. We had so much fun that day. There's a great picture of her and me from that day, but I don't know where that picture is.
Particularly in reservations and village areas, there is a maze of jurisdictions, of policies, of procedures, of who investigates what. I worked with a family where for 3 days they couldn't get anybody to investigate the rape because the county, the state, and the tribal police couldn't determine who had jurisdiction.
Families of the missing or murdered Indigenous women, they need somewhere to go. And so when they go to the law enforcement, they're not thinking about the jurisdiction. They're thinking about how can we get help finding our lost relative.
Early on, there should have been a bigger search for her. And I realize it's a very remote area, but Hoopa police, Yurok police have very small, they don't have a lot of help, right?
Quite honestly, the community and the tribe as a government is getting frustrated and they're tired of the appearance that our Native people are not getting the attention that they see with other missing cases locally and across the country.
It's real difficult when you deal with the grandkids and the grandkids said, "Grandpa, can you take me down the river and can we look for my mom?" I mean, what do you tell them? We're looking every day and there's a lot of people looking. Then he says, "What happens if we can't find her?"
Emily's a beautiful person, and she needs to come home to her children.
Wow. According to a report this week in the Lost Coast Outpost, fentanyl-related overdose deaths have skyrocketed in Humboldt County. According to the story by Isabella Vanderheiden, drug overdoses fueled by the increased use of fentanyl killed more than 100,000 Americans in 2021. Local drug overdoses jumped 40% in the last 2 years, from 32 in 2020 to 53 in 2021, according to data from the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office. But fentanyl-related deaths spiked by 377%, from 9 in 2020 to 34 in 2021. According to Vanderheiden, the Humboldt County Drug Task Force pulled almost 14 pounds of fentanyl off the street in 2021, and if you've seen how powerful that stuff is, just a little bit. In 2020, that figure was only 3 grams. Heroin seizures, meanwhile, dropped from 48.55 pounds in 2020 to 12.39 pounds in 2021. Congressman Jared Huffman sent a letter this week to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation asking that enough cold Trinity Lake water be preserved during an upcoming anticipated drought season to keep fish alive in the Trinity River. Experts have predicted that this upcoming summer will be hot and dry, which could severely impact tribal communities along the river as well as the fish populations they depend on. Huffman also said infrastructure investments were needed at the Trinity River Division to improve its ability to adjust the temperature of water released to the river. While early winter storms were expected to alleviate critically dry conditions on the river, limited precipitation in January and February has left Trinity Lake at only 32% capacity. The upcoming irrigation season in the Central Valley will place a heavy burden on that supply, which could impact the ability of managers to keep the Trinity River cool enough to support fish. Okay, we love to honor good journalism, and this time it's one of our own collaborators who has been honored for her work at the Red-Headed Black Belt news blog. Ryan Hudson of Red-Headed Black Belt and Hank Sims of the Lost Coast Outpost are the first two winners of the Humboldt Journalism Project's 40th Award. Sims won first place for his coverage of local political redistricting. His story was headlined, kind of a mouthful, "The county's redistricting process has been a shambles, and the map it is now considering are both measurably worse than the status quo." Sims's article and his follow-up coverage examined flaws in the process, including how some voters could lose their voice by being lumped together inappropriately. Hudson, whose work has often been featured on this show, won an honorable mention for her three-part series on troubles at St. Joseph Hospital, as it struggled with staff shortages during the summer COVID surge. The judges lauded what they called Hudson's deep passion reporting, which we've certainly noticed here. The upcoming races for county supervisor are shaping up to include several notable local names. As we've covered before, several candidates are vying for the 4th district seat, including our guest tonight, Kim Bergel, Councilwoman Natalie Arroyo from Eureka, who we've had on before, and Planning Commissioner Mike Newman, who will be on in the coming weeks. This week, incumbent 5th District Supervisor Steve Madrone announced that he will seek re-election. He will be facing Realtor Larry Doss. The deadline to file candidacy papers is March 11th. The primary election will be held on June 7th. And it's important to remember, if no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote in June, the top 2 vote getters for each seat will proceed to the general election in November in what's called a runoff election. That's all our time for this evening. Thank you guys so much for watching and for staying tuned and staying informed. Keep doing it. Have a good evening.